At the UN today in New York, 22 members of the Arab League, all the members of the Arab League, I should say, all the members of the European Union, plus another 17 nations signed an agreement at the UN calling for peace and security in the Middle East, more specifically in Israel and quote unquote Palestinian lands, and called for a two-state solution. Now, the agreement also called for Hamas to give up power and to relinquish power to the Palestinian Authority. Now, that Palestinian Authority and that transfer of power and the nation or the organization after the fact would be run by the United Nations and would have troops supplied to it by the signing or signatory members. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. Not surprisingly, France has co-chaired the conference, and Qatar has been maintained ties with Hamas the whole time, as Egypt has maintained ties with Israel. Now, here's the thing: is this realistic? Is it a two-state solution or is it two-state suicide? I think it's two-state suicide. Who in their right mind is going to say, let's take Gaza and Hamas, who has slaughtered our people and launched the horrendous October 7th attacks, and let's give them a state now. Let's reward them with a state. Meanwhile, they're still holding hostages. Now, that doesn't sound like a very smart idea. It sounds like a victory for Hamas. Now, let's look a little deeper here. Does anybody really believe that, oh, Hamas has given up power, now it's to this Palestinian Authority? Different people, different names, but what makes you think they'd have a different agenda? The fact of the matter is that the Palestinians hate the Israelis. In the Gaza, they voted for Hamas. They voted them into power. I still think they're at 50 or 60%, depending on who you read. The fact of the matter is that the rest of the nations just now, the Arab League just now said, yeah, this needs to end. In other words, they haven't condemned Hamas until now. That kind of tells you all you need to know. Furthermore, let's look at Hamas. Who's funded Hamas? Much of the world. A lot of money coming out of the EU. A lot of money coming out of the Arab League, those members. A lot of money coming out of Iran. So are we going to have Hamas surrender to some Palestinian Authority run by the UN? Hell, the UN was helped running arms to Hamas. You may recall the UN, the UNRWA clothed or clad workers were actually Hamas workers, Hamas soldiers. So the UN has no credibility here. Can you imagine giving up your security, relying on the UN to protect you? Who in their right mind would do that? What's more, again, Hamas is funded by Iran. You think you're going to change names, get a few different people running, quote unquote, the Palestinian in Gaza or wherever else, and then you're going to have a two-state solution, a larger state, and Iran is going to be there and not having a problem with these people at all, funding them, financing them, training them, arming them. It's a joke. It's not real. It's not real. Now, the fact that all these states are signing on to it has its own momentum, and Netanyahu has said, no way, Jose, we're not going to do it, because everybody knows, everybody should know, that Hamas is an Iranian proxy, just as Islamic Jihad is an Iranian proxy, just as Hezbollah is Iranian proxy, just as the Houthis in Yemen are Iranian proxy. Everywhere. There's Iranian proxies all over the region. And look, you change the name from Hamas to Palestinian Authority, it's jihad by any other name. That's the reality. And the Israelis know it. And I think that if you really want to have peace in that state, in that area, you got to You got to hunt these Hamas leaders down. That means you got to go into Qatar, publicly arrest them, and if Qatar has a problem, then you make problems for Qatar. You make problems for Libya. You make problems. I don't care where these Hamas leaders are. You arrest every Hamas leader. You publicly try them. You convict them, and you publicly punish them. And as I said before, you've got to have that 22-nation Arab League. You got to have them agree and sign a conference agreement to take on the leadership of Iran. You got to remove the leadership of Iran. They have no beef with the Iranian people, no territorial claims, nothing like that. You just got to remove the jihadists that are running the country, and they're funding all these proxies, including Hamas. Without that, this is just a recipe. This is an agreement for the destruction of Israel. This is an official document. I mean, imagine having a second state, a Palestinian state, not just Gaza, but half of Israel. Hundreds of thousands, probably a couple million Palestinians, because 2 million Palestinian Arabs live in Israel proper right now. So you can have all these people move into a Palestinian state, quote unquote. Hamas hasn't been cleansed. They've just turned over power. What happens to them? What happens to the Hamas leaders? What happens to the people who orchestrated this horrendous events of October 7th? What happens to them? I mean, are they tried? Are they punished? Or do they just run for Congress and the new Palestinian Authority and the new Palestinian state? There's nothing new here except that the stakes are getting higher and the momentum is getting greater against Israel. That's what's happening. And the more Israel threatens to win, and they are winning, but notice they haven't returned all the hostages. And you don't hear people condemning them either. Sure, they signed a little thing they condemned. We need to return the hostages. Hamas doesn't want to return the hostages. Hamas is going to get exactly what they want out of this war, a two-state solution, which will go a long way towards their ultimate goal of annihilating Israel, annihilating the Jews, and the UN is coordinating it. France is co-chairing it. The UK is saying, yeah, we're going to do it unless Israel agrees to a ceasefire. And what does Hamas have to give up? What, their badge that says Hamas? What do the leaders have to give up? What's going to happen to them? Is Hamas going to be a name of scorn, or is it going to be a name that, hey, Hamas is what achieved this? What an achievement by Hamas. That's how it's really going to be looked at. So this is a dire situation for Israel. And sadly, or maybe not so sadly, this is just following the roadmap set out in the Old Testament and the New that says, look, the whole world's going to be against Israel, and yeah, that's what's happening. So let me know what you think. If you like content like this, please subscribe to the channel, support the channel, like, share, and comment. All right, we'll see you next time.